All right. Good morning, all you Fans Only Sports Network fans and New England sports fans alike, or sports fans across the country, the globe. We don't care. You're here. You're here with us right here on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy, right on the Fans Only Sports Network. I am your host, Chet. And as always, Duffy, I am joined by you to discuss what we love so near and dear to our hearts in the sports world, and that's football.
Sure do. We love football. Really going to have a great time on this podcast talking about it with you. And another great week across the board in the NFL and our first podcast of the week. So happy Thursday to you, Chet.
Yeah, big happy Thursday to you. And of course, for all our viewers, it is a very early morning type of show. We haven't really done a show like this in a while, I'd say. But, our schedules are a little compact and we got to try and fit it in any way we can. And we're trying to stick ourselves to it. Still a little early for me because obviously drinking my coffee, having some water, but, just chilling out, having a good time here and a lot to go over, especially in New England, I might add. I mean, Duffy, I was this close. If you remember, I was telling you after the show and I think before the show that I was going to take the Bills. And then, of course, the time came and I was like, I'm taking the Patriots. And I probably should have went with what I was thinking. But, I mean, hey, I'm a Pats fan. I have some bias, but Patriots, a tough loss on Thursday night last week. The Buffalo Bills came into town and managed to stop the Patriots after a big score from Marcus Jones, which really ignited a spark for the Patriots offense at that time. Only led to the Bills defense really clamping down at the end of things. Final score finishing at 24-10. The Patriots fall to 6-6 and remain in last place in the AFC East and have now officially fallen out of the playoff picture. They currently sit in the hunt and really need to win these next stretch of games. But let's keep it compact here. There's a lot to unravel, and this game really spoke volumes about the tone for the rest of the season for New England.
Yeah, it really did. And I think it's another example of the Patriots kind of struggling to win these big games or even be contentious in them. That was a terrible outing they had against Buffalo Bills. Only 10 points. Like you said, it was a little bit misleading with that Marcus Jones touchdown early in the game, getting the defensive backing on offense and getting the big touchdown. But Patriots offense just looked bad the whole game, out of sync. Really couldn't move the ball at all against that Bills defense. And when they did, it usually resulted in a punt. Just wasn't a good game by any means. Only had that one big play by Jones, and the rest of the game was just quick stuff, quick passes that didn't result in pushing the ball down the field. And we saw Mac Jones, the frustration kind of circling around social media this week with him saying the effing quick game sucks. Throw the ball, on the Patriots sideline. Looked very upset and really just shows the state that this team is in. And this is a game that most people didn't expect the Patriots to win, albeit, but they didn't even. Oh, we wearing the Mac 10 shirt too. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm wearing this sick Super Bowl 30.
Wait, did you wake up with that on?
Yeah. But
that's funny.
Me and Chad were playing Quiplash last night.
And then we had a good quiz about you. I'm glad. I wish I came in the top 3, but I'm glad I at least was in the top 5 in terms of that.
I think you were
finished fourth. Yeah, I was fourth. Yeah. So there was just a couple. Okay, you had a couple of jokes in there that really kind of threw me off, and I was like, bro, that's not even a good prompt. Like,
there were a couple. Yeah, there were a couple that those were kind of make things closer in the game. You know.
I should have. I need to make one now. That game seems like fun.
It's great. We should do. We gotta do more Kahoot nights.
Yes, absolutely.
Really fun. Underrated school game.
It really is.
Help kids study.
But to keep it grounded, what we were just.
This team is so frustrating to watch.
Yes.
And Matt Patricia needs to get fired. Joe Judge needs to get fired. And I saw a tweet this week. It was like, despite all of Belichick's success, him not surrounding Mac Jones with a competent coaching staff in year 2 might be his worst coaching move ever, which, hey, speaking volumes right now, really is.
Yeah, and I think that is the cornerstone of this season is poor coaching schemes and just poor coaching all around. We just haven't really seen the type of production from this offense that last year signed a lot of weapons in favor to help Mac Jones in last season, which did help. But now we go into this season, and I mean there were players underutilized last year, but this year we're seeing it more so than ever. We're seeing us go back to simplicity that we saw from last season with Mac Jones that made him successful, but now it's not working to that tempo anymore. And now what we're seeing is frustration, dysfunction, and that's basically the best words I can use for it. Mac Jones is flipping out on the sidelines like we saw on social media about this poor offensive movement. He's not playing well, and he's kind of taking, although that's not really him taking blame for some of it, it's putting it out there that he doesn't respect what's going on in the organization. And the fact that he doesn't and others don't really proves that this was the poorest move they could have made, was not hiring an offensive coordinator in the offseason. That would definitely should have been one of the number one things. Josh McDaniels had been there for years. And granted, people were really taking a dump on him these last 2 seasons, but this man won 3 Super Bowls with us. He did.
And this season really shows how much we miss him too, you know.
Exactly.
We really undervalue Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator.
And that's the thing. Last season, I wasn't like, get him out of here. Like, to be honest, he had bad play calls at times, but every OC does. He did make some terrible calls last year, but the bottom line is he proved he's one of the best OCs probably in the game. And at the time, and maybe, I don't know, maybe in history, you never know. Won 3 rings. That's something to be proud of. And the organization.
Season with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, sure, he was with Tom Brady, but at the end of the day, he drew up schemes that kept the offense in. Even with Cam Newton, you're talking about going from a pocket passer quarterback over to Cam Newton, and he still made an offense that worked with a mobile quarterback. And then next year, you go back to a pocket passer. It's right back to familiarity. And sure, the Patriots missed the postseason, but there were some good plays when Cam Newton was here. And Mac Jones, it finally worked. But then McDaniels, hey, I get it. Go get your head coaching job. Higher pay, more respect, more, of what you want in your career. That's great. But the Patriots need to do due diligence, which is replace him with someone competent and somebody who can draw up schemes that fits Mac Jones. And Bill felt too confident that him and this trio of minds could really put that together. And it's just not working. Patriots should be in a different position. But at the same time, it's not really that surprising compared to the way the competitiveness has been in the AFC and within the division. So looking at this game, I know I just went on a huge tangent there basically, but I mean, you had that big play with Marcus Jones, but then you just have these stupid little deke and dunk passes, Max looking to his first option and immediately throwing there. Or there were several times late in the game where he scrambled for at least 12 seconds and then just threw the ball away. And then there were moments where he could have taken off upfield, but instead opted to throw the ball away or slide before the first down, which that kind of proves, once again, panicking in the pocket, not letting the play unfold, seeing what's out there. And there's just not enough development in the plays, in the play calling. And when the run game gets shut down, which it was that night, Stevenson was held to, I believe, 54 yards, 60 as the team total of the night. It just wasn't going to work. And
didn't work at all.
And the Patriots play call just didn't look good. And I think what was the most demoralizing part of this game was just before the half, Nick Folk kicks a 48-yard field goal. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, phew, like, thank God we're going to go to half at 13. Oh, it just hit off the goalpost. And that was a deflating moment in that game. Just watching that thing go right down the middle and just go dunk right off the center bar.
Especially when you have him in fantasy like me.
I did. Yeah. I was pissed. I was so mad. I was like, are you kidding me?
It always happens.
And I knew I shouldn't have started Folk. I knew that.
What do you have?
Because I knew the Patriots. What's that?
You got 2 kickers on your team?
No, this is in my my main league, the $70 one.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I had Folk in our league, so.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, the Patriots defense did what it could. They held the Bills to 24 points. That's something to be had, and that's something to be said there. But the defense can only do so much once again. This defense definitely is one of the best constructed defenses we've seen in football, but this offense just has these weapons that just aren't being utilized. We're seeing Hunter Henry being used a lot less than last season. Jonnu Smith still isn't even in the picture, really. They were getting him involved a little bit, but we're not seeing the production he was putting up in Tennessee. Kendrick Bourne's hurt. Jacoby Myers can't get open anymore to save his life. And I mean, for the most part, Nelson Aguilar, kind of a bum. And everything else is just through Stevenson. And you can't rely on that back to do everything because we already lost Damian Harris. What happens when Stevenson goes down? So at the end of the day, it's a very rough loss. And it's something that this unit's going to have to look back on and just take it as it is and go into these next few games just chugging ahead. They got a tough one coming up, but it shouldn't be that tough. It really shouldn't be. The Cardinals are nothing to really get all
the
up.
Cardinals are 1-6 at home also this year. So there's two sides of me. One side thinks the Cardinals are due for a win at home, being 1-6, but Pats, they're due for a win, losing their last two games. It's a must-win game for New England. Because when you look at that 7 seed in the AFC, Pats are still very much in it. They're only a game behind the Jets, who they beat twice, who have lost, I think, 2 in a row or just 1 in a row. 1 in a row against the Vikings last week. And the Chargers, who just lost as well, they're also 6-6. Mm-hmm. So that's a must-win. You got to win this game against those Cardinals, who have been pretty mediocre all season long. And I think they got to just play some stout defense and really allow the Patriots to allow the pass game to get going and win this game. Because you got to win this game in prime time, the day after my birthday on Monday Night Football. Need a win for my B-Day present for the Pats, man. That would mean the world to me. Give me the Pats game, 21-20.
Interesting score
line. They're -2.5 right now.
-2. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you look at this one, this is a game that the Pats should win. At least you think. We've said that the last few weeks, and they've kind of disappointed on that note. But regardless, you're talking about a very dysfunctional 4-8 Arizona Cardinals team. Cliff Kingsbury should be out by the end of the year. And I mean, this team just isn't coached to the greatest potential. And what I see out of it is, I mean, it's just tough. It really is tough to kind of like pick between these two because both teams haven't been playing great this year. Patriots definitely have had a lot more production than the Cardinals. But if they want to have some production here, they just allowed 92 yards to Stephon Diggs, and you're going up against DeAndre Hopkins this weekend. So,
and then Devontae Adams the week after.
Exactly. We're talking about 3 top 10 wide receivers right now in the game. Some of the best hands in football. So for the Patriots, they got to figure out how to shut down James Conner, and they also got to figure out how to prevent DeAndre Hopkins from breaking out and getting big receptions going downfield. And then, of course, containing Kyler Murray should be of the utmost importance going into this one. Patriots are due for one. I'll reluctantly take them again in this one. Reluctantly. I'm going to go it's going to be probably a mid-scoring game, nothing ridiculous, but I think the final score in this one will probably finish it around, I'm going to say 26-23 Patriots.
26-23?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Realistic. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Pats get some points on the board. This is embarrassing recently.
It really is, and the offense just needs to figure out a way to put something
nice
together.
Long break too, 11 days in between 2 games after playing 3 in 12 days. It's good stuff for the Pats. So
it is tough. So that concludes our segment there on the Patriots. Patriots fall to 6-6. They are now dead last in the AFC East playoff picture and in the hunt currently to break into the 2022 NFL playoff season. So we move into our injury segment because now we're seeing a lot of injuries pop up at least last week and to some notable players. And I really think if you want to address the first one, you got to go to Baltimore once again because the Ravens They are without Lamar Jackson for the second straight year. Late in the season, Tyler Huntley is now the man to potentially lead this team to an AFC North title and a playoff run right now, because Lamar Jackson goes down with a knee injury last weekend and will probably miss a lot of games going into the postseason. And right now, the Ravens are in the similar position they were last year. Similar position. Now you got to put your mouth where your money is, and this team really, really. I mean, Lamar's their guy. Without him, we've seen this team crumble, and
Yeah,
we might see it happen again. But this is a devastating loss for the Ravens.
devastating indeed. I mean, it depends how long Lamar's going to be out for. He's out. He's week to week right now. When we look at the Ravens' schedule, they
Because I
got the
believe it was
Steelers.
a sprained PCL.
Yeah, it was something like that. Knee injury. So yeah, sprained PCL. 1 to 3 weeks. The injury report. I think he's going to come back. Let's late in
Yeah,
the season. I mean, Lamar. Obviously, the run game is a huge part of this game, but if you're the Ravens and you're Lamar Jackson, he is playing for a contract right now. They still haven't signed him long term. They still haven't paid that man. I think that if he really wants to show what he's all about, um, his competitive spirit will probably get him back in the game, maybe a week or two. But maybe he doesn't want to risk that for a worse injury. But there's 4 divisional games on this Ravens schedule. You got on the road the next 2 weeks against the Steelers and Browns, and then you got the Falcons and Steelers at home, and Cincinnati in Week 18, which could very well decide the division depending on how the Ravens do these next few games. Both those teams 8-4. Cincinnati with a huge win against Kansas City this past Sunday, and Ravens trying to establish themselves as the top dogs in the AFC North again. I mean, Bengals back in it, like you said, similar position as last year, where they were able to climb back and win their last few games to really clinch the division. But this AFC is tight this year, and the Ravens, they can't afford more than 2 losses in this stretch with Lamar Jackson banged up over the next 1 to 3 weeks. So I think that Lamar's going to just come back and be Lamar. I'm optimistic about it.
yeah.
But I'm playing him in fantasy this week to get into the playoffs, so that'll be cool not having to play against it. My boy Anaya had Jimmy G and Lamar Jackson on his team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. And like as you said, Bengals right now are tied for the best record in the North at 8-4 with Baltimore. And the Ravens right now, they sit at the 3 seed as of this moment, but a loss and a Bengals win could push them back down in the standings and really change up this playoff picture similar to last year. So right now, Ravens still have some pretty healthy guys out there. Gus Edwards is still looking good. J.K. Dobbins should be back potentially this week or maybe the next week. So that run game will have its 2 stud backs finally back in full health. But the pass game needs to be utilized a lot more. I mean, Devin Duvernay definitely being 100% underutilized in that offense right now. Mark Andrews slowing down compared to what we saw earlier in the season, where he was really just going off every single week. And Huntley's just got to play and keep this team in it, because right now you're seeing the Bengals creep up, similar, as you said, Duffy, to last year. And if this team wants to sneak in, they're going to have to really win out the rest of these games, because I can guarantee Cincinnati's right behind them, ready to go, knocking on the doorstep. I mean, I want to see what their schedule is. Bengals have the Browns, the Buccaneers, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Ravens. So the Bengals have a tougher schedule than what we see out of Baltimore.
Those are a lot of tough games that we need the Bengals to lose as Pats fans as well.
Yeah. And
hopefully
it's plausible. Yeah, the Bucs.
But the Bucs, they're trash.
Yeah. I think the Bills have a pretty good shot beating them.
That's on Monday Night Football too, in Cincy.
Yeah. That'll be a good.
If Cincy can beat the Bucs, Bills, and Chiefs in the same season, those are statements right there.
Yeah. And that proves that this team could potentially make another Super Bowl run once again.
Yeah. Crazy. No one would have thought 2 years ago.
No. But another injury that we have to talk about real quick, and this is really devastating to the San Francisco 49ers, is Jimmy G suffers a broken foot last weekend. They said he would miss the rest of the season potentially, but now we're hearing rumors that It's not as bad as they thought. Still a broken foot, but he will potentially be back in the postseason. Niners now without Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. Both their starters are down. Who did they turn to? What's that guy's name again?
Brock Purdy
Yeah, Brock Purdy coming in.
from Iowa
Managed
State.
managed to still blow out the Dolphins 33-17 last weekend. Niners themselves have a interesting schedule going forward. They play the Buccaneers this weekend, followed by a divisional matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Then they'll play the Commanders, the Raiders, and the Cardinals to finish the season. These are some winnable games, but they're tough games going into this one. And Niners currently lead the AFC West. Seahawks are still a game behind them right now with a chance to really kind of get themselves back in the movement. But we'll talk about them in just a moment because they also have an injury that we have to discuss. But Jimmy G definitely was the glue to this team that made them be successful again this season. And honestly, if he was still healthy, they would be my NFC Super Bowl favorite right now. Right now, they sit at the 3rd seed in the playoff picture, and the 7th seed Seahawks are the only team that trails them. They are back by 1 game. So for right now, I mean, I still like the Niners. I still think they have potential to make the Super Bowl this year, but they need Jimmy Garoppolo. They really do. And I think Baker Mayfield probably would have been a decent signing. However, the Rams, for some reason, decided to get him. I think it might have been just to spite the Niners so they wouldn't have a backup quarterback or a decent
Yeah,
one. But alas, Niners, it's a tough loss for them.
very tough loss for the Niners. And Jimmy G was having a great season. He was on pace for the best of his career. 16 touchdowns, 4 picks in his games that he started. But Niners, Brock Purdy came in and he looks great. Went 25-37. I was shocked he threw the ball that many times coming in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo. But he was slinging that thing. He threw a couple touchdown passes. Looked really good and very comfortable in this Niners offense. So I think this Niners team, coming in and doing these things, looking this good. It's very exciting stuff for the 49ers, despite they're still looking good, sitting at 8-4. They have a lot of crucial games coming up. They have Seattle next Thursday night. That will probably decide the division later in the year, or come very close to it at least. But it really sucks for Jimmy G. And the narrative around him is that he's always been an injury-prone player, and unfortunately for him, another injury bites him in the back, in the behind, and he's probably out for the season. I mean, it said 7 to 8 weeks, but you think about 7 to 8 weeks, that's like the division around the playoffs. Maybe if he's lucky, he'll come back then if they make it that far. They got to win the wild card game as well. So it's very tough sledding for the Niners. And
Yeah.
it's a team that people were talking about going, on a Super Bowl run. And if they can come back and, win a couple playoff games, even games down the stretch, and even still win the division.
Oh, this is interesting news.
What's that face about?
So this is very minor, but the Falcons have decided to have Desmond Ridder, the rookie, take over as the starting quarterback over Marcus Mariota for the rest of the season.
Ridder. All right. I like it a lot.
It's interesting.
Makes sense. Mariota's garbage.
Yeah, at this point, he looked really good at the start of the year, but I mean, that was going to plateau at some point. I mean, Mariota, I have the utmost respect for him as a player, but I mean, it's a very tough competitive league, and he hasn't been a very successful starter throughout his career, so it only makes sense.
He's thrown for less than 200 yards in all but 3 games.
That's nuts.
Yeah, he's
a running quarterback.
Remember his first ever game? He had a perfect passer rating against the Bucks. Jameis versus Mariota in their first ever games.
Yeah. And then he had that big playoff win against the Chiefs a few years ago, and people were thinking, "Oh crap, this guy actually might bring something to the table." Just kidding.
Comeback playoff win.
Yeah, that was a huge playoff win for him. But yeah, this loss of Jimmy G definitely hurts the Niners. And it 100% hurts their chances in terms of going anywhere. But I mean, if Brock Purdy can continue this production, hey, maybe this team actually has a good shot at making the post. Well, they're going to make the postseason, I believe. But in terms of making it to the Super Bowl, if he plays well, I think they could make it. We'll see, though. They've
I
still,
don't trust rookie quarterbacks in the postseason, man.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, you never
I
know.
think it's gonna be Philly or Dallas. That's my NFC prediction.
Yeah, that's
There's a good chance
definitely,
those two play in the second round of the playoffs before the NFC Championship, and it's gonna be a great game.
yeah, I think it should be too. We'll definitely have some good debate on that as time goes on. But now to the final injury report. Kenneth Walker III, the breakout rookie stud, goes down with an injury this past week. And it like, not to say it was due, but it kind of was really going in that direction. This guy was having at least 20 carries a game. Now the Seahawks will be without the production after this ankle strain. And I mean, I'm trying to look at his statistics real quick. Kenneth Walker was having a pretty solid season for the most part. It was, yeah, 649 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. Second round pick out of this season, 22-year-old. And I mean, he was definitely huge. He's been huge in fantasy. He's been huge for the Seahawks run game. And I mean, that's just a big piece that's going missing now, especially this late in the year.
Yeah, he was probably the steal of the draft in fantasy football this year. A lot of people were high on him coming into the season, but with Rashad Penny and him, splitting carries beginning of the year, and then, you know, Kenneth Walker pretty much taking over after Rashad Penny got injured with the broken leg. What?
They edited my schedule for the Portsmouth game. Caroline's going to work with me now.
Oh, nice. Shout out to
Uh,
Caroline. She's lit. Love her. Fans only. But Kenneth Walker, man, sucks. It's really unfortunate for the Seahawks. DJ Dallas, and I don't even know who the other running back is, or we're going to get carries now. But Seahawks run game, they can't catch a break. It's two really good backs getting hurt. I know Kenneth Walker probably out for a couple weeks or a few weeks at least. But it's a tough break for Seattle. And he's been explosive all year. He's been a reason why they've been winning games. And you can't say that about a lot of these rookies. But now Seattle 7-5, fighting for the division, and now two really crucial injuries in the NFC West are going to shake things up these next few weeks.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, right now, I still think it's not going to tremendous. I mean, it will affect in terms of that production we saw from Kenneth Walker this season. But in terms of what we've seen from Geno Smith still threw for over 360 passing yards last weekend. And I mean, he's playing at a huge elite level that we haven't seen him play in a very long time. And that passing offense is rock solid. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, like, he's got weapons to throw to. So, I mean, despite it's going to bring a chunk out of their run game production, but I don't think it will tremendously affect them going forward. I think it's still, it's definitely a huge loss for them, but I don't think it's going to shake things up too tremendously for them.
Yeah, definitely is going to maybe shake up their scheme a little bit. They're a very balanced offense, and with kind of the uncertainty now, they might rely more on the pass, which is great for a DK Metcalf owner like me, hopefully.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just tough to see rookies get injured, especially running backs. These guys' careers aren't long. Hopefully, it's not going to affect him later on in his career.
absolutely. So that concludes our injury report for this week. Now we go into the Thursday night preview. Thursday night football. Las Vegas travels out to Los Angeles to take on the Rams, who both teams have had quite disappointing seasons. However, the Raiders have really started to wake up as time's gone on. Vegas favored in this game, -7 against the Rams, who sit at 3-9. They have a 2-5 record at home. Still no Matt Stafford in this one. Baker Mayfield was signed this week. However, reports have already said coaches aren't even sure if they're going to have him start. And I mean, more likely than not,
even
he
be
probably
active.
won't.
He don't even be active,
Yeah. Yeah. So who is the quarterback right now? Is it still Wolford? Yeah. It says he's questionable. That's why I was like,
a little bit
okay.
banged up last week against the Seahawks, but he finished the game. He had a lot of great plays. He had his ankle stepped on. It looked pretty tough at first, but I know he came back. And he'll probably play, but Baker Mayfield listed on ESPN as the second quarterback right now. So we'll see if he's actually suited up. Just got signed. I think it was Tuesday? That was 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday.
It's going to be an interesting game. I mean, the Rams, they've lost 6 games in a row. They're trash. Probably the worst season by a Super Bowl champ in a really long time. And this
Yeah.
Rams, I'm sure they've been plagued by injuries, but even before, they were having a really tough season and weren't really playing that all that well. But Raiders winners of 3 games in a row, started 2-7. They looked awful all season long. Now they look like they're back right now. What they should have been all year, they've been clicking on all cylinders. Need Devontae Adams to pop off for me tonight. It's gonna be a good game. I think the Raiders are gonna take care of business in this one. Get on the board early and often. I think they're gonna get out to a fast start. Kind of need to because they're still in the hunt. If they win this game, they're gonna be 6-7 on the year. But that Derek Carr Devontae Adams connection has been unreal these last few weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I just think what we see right now out of the Raiders is just good production. We're seeing Josh Jacobs run the ball like an absolute animal. The connection between Adams and Carr is finally here. It's working. It's not like, I mean, it was working all season, but there were games where Adams caught like 1 or 2 passes, and that was all his
Yeah,
production for the entire game. However, he is going up against Jalen Ramsey. However, Ramsey hasn't really looked very good this year. The Rams as a whole have not looked good as a whole. Cooper Kupp on the IR. Same with Matt Stafford. Both are likely to miss the rest of the season. And then you had signings like Allen Robinson that just really haven't panned out at all. And maybe it even questions how good Allen Robinson really is as a wideout as of this point. But as of now, I like what I see out of the Raiders. That defense is finally starting to click a little bit more. They're still letting up a lot of points each game they play. However, it's bend, not break defense. And they've won these last 3 games effectively, especially a tough one last week against the Chargers. That was a huge win for them.
that
Huge.
was.
So this one, I think the Raiders should at least win by at least a touchdown or 2. I think that will be the way this game ends. I just don't think the Rams have enough on the table to really stay competitive and walk away with a win at home. They just look like they're in shambles and they're in the blues of a Super Bowl win that we thought could potentially be a multi-year dynasty run. But, this was a team that was built to be a multi-year dynasty, and still they haven't done anything despite training multiple first-round picks to get the
Yeah,
team they have.
they
And look
sold
where
their
they are now.
soul for one ring. It was great.
It was. It was
Maybe
great
they
for
could
1
run it
year.
back in the future, but with the way things are looking, I feel like teams were figuring them out all year, and they're just not a good football team this year. And I think they'll bounce back to a degree next year. The NFC West is looking tough with the Niners and the resurgent Seattle Seahawks. But I'm gonna take the Raiders tonight. Like you said, I agree with you. It's just gonna be a 2 touchdown probably win for the Raiders. Don't really see the Rams scoring a lot of points in this one, even though they're at home. But who goes to SoFi Stadium is actually a Rams fan? Not too many people. So
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be a lot of Raiders fans in attendance for this game. The Raiders' history in California. They played in LA long ago. Won a Super Bowl while playing in LA in 1984, 1983 season,
Yep.
and
You win one in Oakland.
win one in Oakland too. Win a couple in Oakland, but
Yeah.
I think that this is a 28 to 13 type of game. Raiders win. They're going to cover too. I think they're 6-point favorites right now, 6.5. So yeah,
Yeah. I
Raiders.
mean, you're basically only a point off from my score prediction. My final score 28-14. Raiders take this one effectively in SoFi. I really wish the Rams were doing better because that was a fun team to really watch last year, but it is what it is.
Yeah, they're
And
Mickey, dude.
they are a Mickey team this year. And despite that, I think the Raiders, they're on a mission similar to last year. This is a team that woke up late in the season, and I think they're getting hot at the right time, and they can just keep this production up going forward. Raiders schedule, that's something I'm interested in right now, sitting at 5-7. Let's see if my computer would load. It's taking a minute.
Dude, I like close out my tab and muted me and stopped my camera. But dude,
Okay.
Raiders
They've
have a
got,
solid shot at making the playoffs.
yeah, I mean,
They're the 10th seed
Patriots.
right now.
Well, they have Patriots, Steelers, but the last 2 games, the Niners and the Chiefs, that's going to be a huge deciding factor. This team has to win out if they really want to sneak into the postseason. So A win today would really mean a lot going forward. So this team has a lot of momentum on its side right now, but they need to keep that momentum riding high tonight with a big win potentially over
And
the
they should
Los
have beat the
Angeles
Chiefs
Rams.
earlier this year too in Arrowhead, blowing that 17-0 lead. Tough, man. We got a lot of very tough games ahead, and it's been my ear, dude. A lot of very tough games ahead. Yeah, really got to win out 5-7. Maybe they have a chance to lose one. The way that 7 seed's looking, it could come down to a 9-8 team sneaking in.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully 10-7 for the sake of standings, but yeah, to win out, they really got to win tonight and then move on to the next game immediately. Because they really
Yep.
do have a chance. The way the Pats and the Chargers are both playing.
Totally.
Jets still too,
Those two teams should be locked in to be in the postseason. However, it's just not the case as of right now, the way we've seen them play. And the Raiders have a chance to really sneak into that picture. So we'll see as the season pans forward. But now we'll look to our players of the week, and we have some pretty good ones this week. Want to give an honorable mention first to rookie wide receiver of the New York Jets, Garrett Wilson, 8 receptions and 162 receiving yards last weekend against the Minnesota Vikings. It was a great week for him. He didn't make the top 3. However, we got to give him a shout out because Garrett Wilson has really turned it up these past couple weeks.
He's really turned it up. He's probably, with Kenneth Walker getting hurt, probably is now the favorite for rookie of the year. Especially with a game like that, he's been such a great receiver. These Ohio State receivers always come in the NFL and really tear it up. Michael Thomas, for example, be the first guy that comes to mind. Chris Olave as well, having a great year in New Orleans, another Ohio State guy. But yeah, Garrett Wilson, peace. And with Zach Wilson finally not playing, he has a real quarterback who can get him the football and really make some plays. So yeah, great honorable mention. He made a lot of big plays in that near comeback victory for the Jets. They had 2 chances to take the lead in the final minutes in the red zone and couldn't punch it in. But Garrett Wilson was one of the reasons why they all.
Yeah. So now we look to our actual.
Could you hear me there?
You cut out the last sec, but it sounded like you ended your point. That's why I jumped into the next part of the segment.
Cool.
But all right. So number 3 on the list, the actual list, Geno Smith. Geno Smith, we did just mention him not too long ago, but having himself an unbelievable week. 367 passing yards, followed by 3 touchdowns. I believe he might have had an additional touchdown on top of that. No, he didn't. But despite that, huge game, huge comeback win against the Rams. And once again, Geno Smith really advocating his case for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, it really is. And another game like that, it's phenomenal for Geno Smith. I've been saying it all year. He's probably my favorite player of the year, favorite story of the year so far in the NFL. Looking at 6 straight games for Geno Smith with a passer rating over 100. He has the highest pass rating in the league, 108 right now. He's going absolute dots all year and has not looked fluky at all season. He's the real deal this season. Everyone's been waiting for the when will Geno Smith come back down to earth moment, and he hasn't yet. It's been really fun to watch in a game like that against the Rams. 2-minute offense, moving the ball on the field, and he did it just like that. It was big play after big play. DK Metcalf, racking up fantasy points on that drive. It was beautiful to see for me. Game-winning touchdown in traffic over Jalen Ramsey. It was awesome. And Geno Smith was the guy who got him the ball, throwing dimes all day. So, and a big win too.
Yeah,
they lost 2 games in a row going against the lowly Rams. They come up when they needed to the most, and that was in the 2-minute drill. So shout out to Geno Smith at number 3 on our list.
Yeah, a big comeback win as they take down the Rams 27-23. And that moves us to our second place top 3 players of the week. And that has to go to Davante Adams. I know we've said his name a lot, but I mean, hey, you can't help it. The guy literally speaks for himself in terms of what he's been doing. 250 passing yards on the day for Derek Carr. 177 of them went to Davante Adams on 12 targets for 8 receptions. He caught both of Carr's touchdown passes in a huge 27-20 win over a very competitive division rival in the Los Angeles Chargers. Adams, once again, stepping up for the team, putting it on his back, taking a majority of those passing yards, and he earns our number 2 player of the week.
Yeah, earns our number 2 player of the week. And for me, I hate to keep bringing up fantasy, but
Uh-oh. Well, Duffy just, yeah, okay. So Duffy will be back in a moment. But just for the record, I mean, basically, we've just seen an excellent production all year from Devontae Adams. And finally, him and Derek Carr, as we mentioned before, they're clicking at the right time. And he's playing like the top 5 wide receiver that we saw in Green Bay. He is just a phenomenal talent. And he is somebody that is going to be in the game for a very long time. And now, at this point, going to be playing a long time with Derek Carr. So he earns the number 2 spot. And that finally moves us to our number 1 guy. And the number 1 guy in the list, it goes without mentioning. He's been going off every year, and he's made this list several times before. But we have to talk about Jalen Hurts. I know. I'm pretty sure he was the number 1 guy last week for us too. But Jalen Hurts having himself a multi-touchdown game through the air and on the ground. He's just having a phenomenal season, and there's a lot to see going forward with him. And managing to take down the Titans 35-10 in a very formidable win. 3 passing touchdowns through the air, including 1 rushing, and over 380 passing yards. 2 of those touchdowns going to A.J. Brown, 1 going to Devonta Smith. And even despite, without Dallas Goedert in that starting lineup right now, still sitting on IR, this team is just playing at an exponential level. And we're just going to see them keep that train chugging along going forward for the rest of the season. Jalen Hurts, you have once again earned the number 1 spot on the top 3 players of the week here on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. And it goes to no surprise because of the way you've been producing. So now, Duffy, we'll see if he can make it back into the show as of this point. But for now, we'll move to the final segment, locks and upsets. Right now, we're looking at the way Duffy and I have shaped out for the rest of the year. As of week 13, we had 2 locks and 2 upsets to make up for Thanksgiving weekend. Chet got 2 of his games right. He got the Ravens over the Broncos correctly, and then, of course, the Bengals over the Chiefs. That was definitely the one that I was chewing my nails off for. Didn't get Jags and Lions right. Didn't get Chargers and Raiders, unfortunately. Duffy, though, having himself a very interesting week. He got 2 games right, and then he got one wrong, and then 1 was a tie. So Vikings over Jets was correct. Packers over Bears was correct. But then the upsets. Dolphins over Niners. That did not happen. Giants and Commanders tied. So right now, Chet moves to a 13-13 record, still sits at 500, while Duffy sits at a 15-10-1 record. So things really getting tight here in the last few games of the season. Chet's going to need a lot of help, though, as there's only 4 more weeks left until our locks and upset picks are locked for good. So as of right now, to start off, and I think Duffy might have joined back in. Let's see what's going on there. Yo.
Dude, it said my mic wasn't working.
So I saw that. I was like, what the heck?
Disconnected me from the stream. It was being weird.
Yeah, but, so we just moved into locks and upsets. I gave the whole preview for that.
All right. What are we starting with, baby? Oh, you'd say that had the first ever tie in our show's history?
Yeah, that's the first ever tie that's ever been, I mean, I guess you could say called. It's not like it was actually called. I mean, technically, I almost put it as a loss, but I'm like, hey, it's a tie. There really is no loss.
It was a tie.
But it is the first time we've ever called a tie, I believe. So now, Duffy, you said at 15-10-1, as I mentioned before. I'm sitting at 13-13 on the year. It's getting tight. However, you're probably going to have to drop a few if I really want to have a chance back in this one. I'm basically 3.5 games out right now. So let's start off with you. Let's go to your lock for this week.
My lock of the week. Refresh me. What is it again, dude?
It is Titans over Jags.
Titans over Jags. Hey, I know this is kind of Mickey because it's against the Jags is always Mickey, regardless of how decent or indecent they may be. But at the end of the day, man, Give me the Titans at home against the Jags. They own the Jags. They always have for the last better part of a decade, pretty much. Even the year the Jags made the playoffs, the Titans still beat them twice. So, give me the Titans in this one at home. I think this should be easy. I think Derrick Henry will have a field day. I know he got a little bit banged up, but I think he'll be back and ready to rumble.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially, sure they had that big win over Baltimore, but I definitely didn't have the greatest idea in terms of picking them against a very volatile Detroit Lions team and a hot Detroit Lions team as of right now. And I mean, that kind of just set me back to where I think about the Jags right now. This is a division rivalry that they just haven't been able to have the upper hand in for a very long time. The Titans have a very talented head coach out of Mike Vrabel, and I just think he's going to draw up the right defensive schemes to slow down Trevor Lawrence. And he's going to set up some good schemes, really, with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry to really move the ball upfield. However, this is one of the worst passing offenses in football. So if they want to win this one, they're going to have to pass it. I know it. Derrick Henry just hasn't really been producing like he has mid-season. So as of right now, I am going to take the Titans. I just think the Titans definitely have it in terms of this one. Final score in this one for me, it's a -4 spread. I'm going to take the Titans. I'm going to say 29-21.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
So 30-17. Titans have not scored 30 all year.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
I think it was they haven't scored at least 33 because they were comparing it to how many points the Cowboys scored in the fourth quarter last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was abysmal.
They have not eclipsed 27 points all year. Wow.
That's tough. So, Jets lock this week. Mickey pick. I'm taking -9.5 Bills over the Jets. Sure, the Jets defeated the Bills earlier this season, but the Bills, this is the part of the season where they really turn it up. This is the part of the year where they figure things out. Sure, they're 1-2 in the division, but they want to secure that title very much so now that the Dolphins have lost as of last week. They currently have the best record in the AFC East, Buffalo. They're back where they want to be, and they want to continue that train going forward. -9.5. That's a huge spread against a Jets team that still has been able to play competitive with Mike White. They nearly came back and beat the Vikings last weekend. So a little disrespectful, I think, to New York, despite it being the Jets. But I think Buffalo should have their way with them in this one, especially considering it is in Buffalo. And I think they'll at least win this by 2 possessions. I'm going to say final score. And I mean, Josh Allen, despite going up against a tough Patriots defense, still managed to air the ball out for over 200 yards. And move the ball effectively on the ground, over 160 rushing yards by the team total. James Cook had a great week. Devin Singletary had a great week. So I'm going to take a final score in this one. Bills 35, Jets 20.
This is LeBron James as Mickey.
Yep. As always.
I couldn't get I don't know where the original Mickey meme went, but yeah.
I might have deleted it because I had to clear space.
Picked the Bills so many times. It's kind of disgusting to me. They're going to win this game, obviously, because they're not going to lose to the Jets twice in the same season because they're the Jets and the Bills are the Bills. That's all I got to say. It's 33-24. 33-21 final.
Excellent. All right, Duffy, you're upset. Do you need a refresher or do you know it?
I know it. It is the Bucs +3.5 against the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, the Bucs have looked ugly on offense. They've looked terrible all year. But Brady, his homecoming, going back to the Bay Area, he's only played in the Bay Area, I think, once in his whole career. It was 2016 against the Niners when he was with the Pats. So I don't think they've played in New in. Yeah,
I think the Niners have just New England
since Brady came to Tampa. But this is a game that I think Brady's going to go home with his parents in the crowd, his family, win this, and he's going to win this one. He's going to win it big, not big. I just don't see him. I just don't see Brock Purdy in his first career start against Tom Brady. That's so surreal. Imagine your first career start is against Tom Brady. That's sick.
That is sick.
He's going to lose this game. He's going to be in his head too much. He looked really awesome last week, though. But I think the Bucs are going to come to town, and they're going to win a must-win game. They have not been over 500 since I think week 1 or week 2. So they started 2-0, so I guess week 3. But they got to win this game and against a very good NFC opponent. Going to probably be pivotal for the playoff later on in the year. And I like the Bucks by a score of low scoring game, 20-17 final. Tom Brady another game winning drive. This one ends with a field goal.
Yeah, so the thing is, there's a part of me that really wants to take San Francisco, but it's tough to bet against Tom Brady, especially after a pretty, even though it was an ugly win last week, they came back. They won the game 17-16 over the division rival Saints. And I think Brady really knows Brady, despite people saying Brady's having a terrible year, technically, no. I mean, you look at the stats, he's top 5 in passing still. That's nuts. Still, at 45 years old, he's top 5 in the league in passing yards. Still has barely thrown any interceptions this year. Doesn't have a lot of touchdowns to back it. But despite that, it's just been dysfunctional on offense. Leonard Fournette goes down with a hip injury. They're going between him and Rachaad White. Both backs looking really good as of late this year. But connection needs to be better between Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Scotty Miller, because those guys have been wide open, especially last week, and Brady couldn't hit them. So they need to figure something out going into this one against the tough Niners unit. They're going to come in they're going to come in very pumped up for this one. Niners are in a great position, but Bucs defense still looking pretty rock solid despite having another year of a depleted secondary. So for them, I think as of right now, they will win this one. It's going to be a low-scoring, close one, as you said, Duffy. I think the final score in this one for me will be I'm going to go 21-20 Bucs.
Okay, I like it.
All right. So for Chet's upset this week, this is 100% a trap game, as we mentioned pre-show. Vikings traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. Lions favored by 2 in this one. I mean, I still think Minnesota could potentially lose. I do think there's strong potential considering the Lions really look like they're officially on a mission. But I think the Vikings will be able to put that mission to bed finally for Minnesota. I mean, for Detroit, that could end up coming to bite me. But regardless, looking at this one, I like what the Vikings have been able to put together. That defense is not they're not one of the best in they're one of the worst defenses in football. But that offense, high powered with Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen's really been getting into the offense as of late. I just think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to put something together this week. And that's surprising to say. Kirk Cousins is going to put something together this week. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the Lions are going to bring a lot to this one. That offense is very strong. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. I just think the Vikings are going to be able to rip apart that Lions defense that is still one of the worst in football. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think. I don't know if it'll be mid-tier. I mean, it could be in the 20s.
High-scoring game.
But I'm going to go final in this one, 28-25 Vikings.
These are 2 really bad defenses. It's going to be a lot of points in this one. Lions have won 4 of their last 5, and they only lost was a very close game against Buffalo. They're going to win this game. This is a classic trap line. Chet is biting for that +2 because he's square. And the Lions are going to be at home this game. They had a really close game against the Vikings back in week 3. They should have won that game, but they sold because of the Lions. But they're going to win this one in the rematch. Vikings are due for a loss. I mean, they lost the other week against Dallas, got smoked. But divisional game, Vikings, I think, have been perfect in the division all season long. Yeah. And, we all know the Vikings very well. They're choke artists. They sell. And this will be a game that they should win but won't. And that's why the Lions are favored. Trap line. So many people are going to bite on this, including you, Chet. So give me the Lions in this game. High-scoring affair, 31-27 final. And they won this game last year against the Vikings at home, if you remember that, for their first win of the season, which was ecstatic. And they're going to do it again.
Solid call right there. I'll probably end up eating my own words next week.
But you probably will, buddy.
But we'll see. But that does it for us here on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here on Fans Only Sports. We will catch you on the next broadcast. But, hey, as of tomorrow, huge movement for the company as winter sports really start to take off here. High school hockey starts this weekend. A lot of great games on the slate. I'll actually pull up the schedule right now just so we can actually give a preview of that for any of you fans looking to go ahead and purchase live stream passes. Single game or full season, winter is probably our biggest in terms of sporting events. We got Mount Hockey on the ticker. Bryant versus Roger Williams. That's going to be a big one because both Bryant and Roger Williams performed some big upset overtime wins last week. So some ACHA hockey to really look at. Duffy going to be
Yeah,
calling some girls basketball for Cranston West. So that'll be cool. And then,
it'll
of
be
course, you
cool.
got
It'll be neat.
Yes, it'll be neat. Smithfield and Prout going to be our first high school game of the season. Matt Jolis to call the game there. Moormount hockey followed on Saturday. Some big games on the ticker. You got Warwick versus Smithfield. Then you got Barrington versus North Kingstown. North Kingstown, first year in Division I hockey. So that'll be something interesting as that takes off at the Portsmouth Abbey. Then in Burrillville going to host the LaSalle Rams. This was a game that I really was looking forward to. However, we had to make some last-minute adjustments. So Nick
He's just
LeBlanc.
throwing shade at me, bro.
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just
Crazy.
saying. And then followed by another good game over at it's not in Mount. It is actually in it's actually in West Warwick. EG going to be hosting Mount St. Charles. So some good games on the ticker this week on Fans Only Sports, and you can go catch that out right at fansonlysports.com. That's sports with a Z. So thank you all for tuning into this week's episode. This is Chet and Duffy signing off. We will catch you on the next one. And as always, we say it every time, and you should be able to say this mantra at this point. Go Pats.